You have a quorum.
Sorry, it looks like it muted itself again. Here we go. Sorry. Now it is unmuted.
Do we have to do it again?
Yes, yes, no.
Groundhog Day.
All right, and because 3 is the charm. And for the third time, I am going to say good morning and call this meeting to order at, we lose a minute every time, though. It's now 11:33. And I'm going to ask Ms. Wrights to again also do roll call.
Judge Mayfield,
Present.
Clerk Tyler,
Here.
Treasurer White,
Present.
you have a quorum.
All right, thank you. We have a quorum. We need to, I believe, approve the minutes from the October 25, 2019, our last meeting.
I move to accept the minutes of October 25th.
Did I hear a second?
I second.
All right. Been moved and properly second for acceptance of the minutes from the October 25, 2019 meeting of the Berrien County Election Commission. All of those.
We got to do a roll call.
Roll call.
Okay.
Clerk Tyler,
Yes.
Treasurer White,
Yes.
Judge Mayfield,
Yes. All right.
unanimous.
All right. With that, the minutes of that meeting are approved. Do we have any communications?
We do have 2 that I received this morning. One communication is from our petitioner, Christy Kitzmiller, and she states that she has 2 people, both by the name of Rebecca, that if the board has any questions for, they helped her with the evidence. They should be available for questions via Zoom. The other communication is from Vicki Wagner of Three Oaks, and to summarize her communication, she asked that the recall petition be rejected.
Could I have that name again, please?
Vicki Wagner,
And you said from,
Three Oaks. Yep.
We might have it on the packet, but I think that's your copy.
okay. Was that in it, or do I have that in what was just provided?
In
this
the
morning? Okay.
folder, it's in the back.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'll be able to access that then. All right, thank you. And there are no further communications.
That is correct.
All right, thank you. Okay, we have assembled this morning, and I appreciate the assistance. There were some really modifications to the statute since, maybe not since we last met, but relatively shortly thereafter. And consistent with that, in my review, for purposes of this clarity hearing, we are here to determine the reason for recall being factual and sufficient as it would relate to clarity, whether the position is factual and sufficient in clarity to enable the officer whose recall is sought in the elections to identify the course of conduct that is the basis for the recall. Okay. And with that, I do have, here it is Ms. Kitzmiller, is that where it's pronounced?
Yes.
All right, Kitzmiller is present and prepared to go forward at this time, all right?
Yes, when we say go forward, just make comments or...
Well,
If you wish to address.
Oh,
Right.
okay, sure.
present your case.
Okay, yeah, I have that, okay.
Excuse me, I do have a point of clarification.
Yes, sir. And I'm sorry, for the record, again,
sorry.
this is Attorney Goldman appearing on behalf of,
David Whitlow.
okay, and Mr. Whitlow is also present. I did not acknowledge that present this morning. Yes, Mr. Goldman.
On Tuesday, I received a copy of the packet with the petition,
Yes.
and it was pretty straightforward. Don't agree with it, but I understand it. And then yesterday afternoon, I received a second, but this one has numbers next along the top here.
Okay.
Are those numbers intended to be included on the petition?
No.
No, it's just to the way that I did the evidence.
Okay,
It's
Just
just so
wanted to
that
be
you
sure.
can follow along, so we wouldn't be here all day.
That was my interpretation of that there
Yeah.
were 4 specific
Claims.
counts, and consistent with that in the recall petition itself, you were identifying 1 through 4
Yeah.
applicable. All right?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So now, Ms. Kitzmiller, if you're prepared to go forward now.
Yeah. So I haven't spoken in front of people in about 18 months, I think, at this point, so I'm a little nervous, so please bear with me. I'm gonna do my best.
Take a deep breath. I know everybody here fairly well. It should be.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, may it please the Board of Elections, I'm here today to request that my recall petition for David Whitlow be approved. I have never met David Whitlow in person, and prior to joining the River Valley community, I had never heard his name. So I can guarantee you my request is not personal. This is based solely on behavior that I have witnessed in Zoom board meetings and seen reported in the newspaper. I have made 4 essential claims in my petition, all of which I'll argue are clear and factual. Claim number 1 is noted, so this is how the numbers work in. David Whitlow is attempting to overrule the will of the people whom have voted down 5 times in official votes, a proposal that combines all of the River Valley School into one campus. Combining multiple schools in the River Valley School District is not a new idea. If you speak to the local residents, it is easy to find people who are knowledgeable about the history of the idea, and they'll discuss many different plans that were proposed and identify many different reasons for why various proposals to combine the 3 schools failed. My claim does not relate to why it failed. It is just a claim that it did. And the last attempt was in 2011, a decade ago. I will concede it is possible that Mr. Whitlow genuinely believes these votes failed because people did not want to spend the money to make a single site work. I would not know because he's chosen not to tell the community why he wants the proposal, nor has he outlined the proposal in any detail. But no matter what his reasons are, the fact is the last time the community was asked to support 3 separate campuses through a sinking fund, they voted yes. So it seems clear to me that as of this date, the most recent vote we have is for dedicating money to support and maintain 3 separate campuses. There have been no agenda items on meetings listed for the proposal so people can voice their opinion. There have been no parent surveys, no virtual coffees to discuss the option with stakeholders. So because of Mr. Whitlow's lack of action, the only facts we have are that people voted to give money to support 3 campuses and voted down giving money to combine campuses. This brings me to my next claim that Mr. Whitlow is trying to overrule this will expressed through publicly tallied votes by sneaking in discussion of the proposal at the end of a meeting and not putting the discussion on the agenda of the meeting at which it was discussed. So that's claim number 2. On April 26, 2021, an item not on the approved board meeting agenda was discussed. This item was a proposal to combine all 3 River Valley campuses onto the River Valley High School. This discussion occurred at the very end of the meeting after many participants would have likely signed off. There was no formal proposal submitted, and according to attendees in the meeting, it was discussed as a foregone conclusion that this proposal would be moving forward. The superintendent offered as a benefit to the proposal that the community wouldn't have to be involved in the decision-making because no money was required to be raised. This is clearly an attempt to overrule the people's voices. If they had conducted a parent survey and were touting the benefits of not needing money from outside, that would be one thing, but they did not speak to anybody but each other. Additionally, the minimum notice of 18 hours for this meeting was given, which has been a persistent and pervasive issue for parents and constituents trying to attend meetings. I cannot know Mr. Whitlow's interests in this proposal because he has not laid them out. And as I mentioned before today, we have never met, but the constituents of the school district have voiced their position as discussed in my first claim, and Mr. Whitlow has shown that he has no intention to establish that the people support throwing away the sinking fund improvements in favor of combining the 3 schools and having small children on the same bus and campus as much older high schoolers. Claim number 3, which is, it was stated in the meeting that the district has the existing funds to do that right now without going to our community. In addition to tactics outlined in claim number 2, it was directly stated by the superintendent during this meeting that the intent was to go ahead with the plan without going to the community. Because it doesn't require funds, the administration and board see this as an opportunity to get around that annoying voting thing that democracies do to approve things. This appears to be viewed as an opportunity to be able to go ahead with what they would prefer for the community instead of functioning as a federalist, democratically elected body with a responsibility to their constituents. This behavior is consistent with Mr. Whitlow's willingness to ignore rules, especially those specifically set up to provide transparency in government for constituents to help prevent corruption and coercion in our public bodies. Claim number 4. During a hearing held by the school board on 4/19, and this is the Open Meetings Act violation. During a hearing held by the school board on 4/19/21, Mr. Whitlow admitted to texting board members while in open session in direct violation of the Open Meetings Act. First, I would like to state that the Open Meetings Acts are called sunshine laws because of their main purpose is to allow the public to see and observe how decisions are made by our public bodies. This is fundamental to our ability as constituents to be able to prevent collusion, corruption, and coercion by individual members. Violations of this act in Michigan are considered serious, and intentional violations are a misdemeanor with up to $5,000 fine per violation. I have no way of knowing what other texting was going on during this meeting, but given the pattern I have laid out, I believe this is just the tip of the iceberg. The statement, however, was self-admitted and related to how long the hearing should be allowed to continue for clearly a decision that should have been made in the open in compliance with the Open Meeting Act. I've put together a support package with documents that I believe support my statements. But finally, I would like to speak to the spirit of our petition so that Mr. Whitlow could cure our grievances. Mr. Whitlow, your lack of communication that I have witnessed this year has been egregious. I have had friends send emails that have gone unanswered. We have raised issues in public comment that haven't been addressed, and there has been a clear effort on your part to do the least legally required to engage us. To the Board of Elections, it is my genuine belief that unfettered Mr. Whitlow will put through pet projects to the detriment of his constituents. Could I be wrong? Of course. And if I am, I won't be able to get petition signatures. And Mr. Whitlow shouldn't worry about my petition. If he does community outreach and does his job properly while following the rules, my petition will sit empty. I am not afraid of the democratic process. I believe Mr. Whitlow is. I am happiest if the community has a healthy school community that we can be proud of. So if I could dictate the outcome today, my preferred outcome, it would be that you approve my petition and that Mr. Whitlow works to make it pointless by doing his job properly. I would like for it to be difficult for me to obtain more than a few signatures. I would like this community to have a functioning board that works with the people to do the very challenging job of providing public education to our most important community members, the future of our nation and our people, the children. And this is why I have submitted this petition, as it is my only avenue to try to change the behavior of the board. Our attempts to become engaged have been completely rebuffed. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We hear from
Yes.
Attorney Goldman.
Thank you.
Goldman.
I'm here representing David Whitlow. And first and foremost, Mr. Whitlow denies any wrongdoing in either of the 2 counts. And I call them 2 counts because the first one deals with the allegation of putting all the buildings in the school district onto a single campus. One of the reasons we believe this is not only factually incorrect but unclear is based on the millages, the 5 millages that were proposed. This comes off the Berrien County website and identifies those last 5 votes. If you'll notice, there is nothing in any of those 5 votes that indicates that the board, and this is not Mr. Whitlow, this is the board, wanted to consolidate all the schools onto one campus. This was to address issues regarding various problems with the various schools, increase technology, improve athletic fields, facilities, playgrounds, and the site. They were voted down 5 times, but there is nothing in these millages that address or even come close to the allegation that he was attempting and the board was attempting to consolidate all the buildings on one campus. That lack of clarity, we believe, is sufficient to cause confusion among electors and cause problems as the petitions move, if the petitions move forward. So based on that lack of fact, lack of clarity, we're asking that the petition be denied. Mr. Whitlow has been on the school board for 9 years. This is his 3rd year as president. He has been reelected at least twice. And the community evidently, well, we would know, but is not concerned about his behavior. If you look at the second count, which deals with the Open Meetings Act, this is also categorically denied. First of all, it indicates that Mr. Whitlow has likewise admitted violations of the Open Meetings Act. There has never been any indication of a violation of the Open Meetings Act, nor did Mr. Whitlow ever admit that he violated the Open Meetings Act. He did admit to a text, which came from one of the board members who was indicating that as they were approaching 11:30 at night on a particular board meeting, she had to work the next day. And she had kids to get off to school, and the time was starting to run short for her. I believe at that point, Mr. Whitlow asked the attorney who was present, it was not me, how much longer he expected the meeting to go, and it was indicated they were very close to ending. That was the text. There was no indication, consideration, or discussion of any issues that were ongoing in that meeting. It was simply, I'm going to have to leave pretty soon. The standard for recall petitions is very low. I understand that. But we believe that the lack of facts, the factual incorrectness in both of the two counts, and also based on both of those counts would mislead or cause confusion to the electors, and therefore we request that the petition be denied for lack of clarity.
Any questions?
No.
From anyone?
Well, I'm going to open it up for a motion, and I'm going to the motion to deny it. And because recall language is supposed to be clear and factual, and just by the beginning statement which you make, David Whitlow is attempting to overrule the will of the people. That is your opinion. That's not clear nor factual. So with that comment, I'm going to deny this recall language.
All right. Thank you.
I will second that. I don't believe there's factual evidence in what she has stated. There may be some, but I don't believe it's completely factual. It's more opinion.
I think with that we are, having been moved and properly second, prepared to call for vote.
Sure. Judge Mayfield,
Support the motion for denial.
Treasurer White,
Yes, support denial.
Clerk Tyler,
Yes, for the motion to deny.
unanimous decision to deny.
All right,
Public comment?
Just a little lag, so we can, if you want to call for a public comment, we should probably wait a couple.
oh, we should give it a couple of minutes, so call for public, you can say it again.
Oh,
Or
did I?
public comment, so that they.
We have now reached the public comment. This would be the appropriate time for anyone wishing to have their voice heard at that portion.
There are a few, but we'll give them a few seconds to.
Ashley, I can barely hear you.
Oh, there are a few, but we'll give them a few seconds to.
Okay,
get a reply.
thank you.
Ashley, will you make sure they address what municipality they're in when they make their comment? Because we'll need their name and municipality. Certainly.
So there are a few public comments. One is from Nathaniel Will of Three Oaks. He just states his name and his municipality.
I'm sorry, Ashley, I'm not even.
Oh, that's okay. Let's see. So the first public comment is it is as follows. Nathaniel Will of Three Oaks, Michigan. The second public comment is as follows. Barbara Kane of Three Oaks. The third is Vicki Wagner of Three Oaks. She says, firstly, the language clearly shows a lack of understanding on the discussion item versus the action item. Each month, the board has discussed discussion items, not action items. The second part of the language is errorous. Mr. Whitlow did not attempt a violation of the Open Meetings Act because it never happened. The second part of the language is errorous because it never happened. The board has never deliberated via text on any action item, and we have never deliberated via text regarding an employee. That's Vicki Wagner's public comment.
Ashley, are you able to save that?
So that we can
So I
print
can
it
get the
out?
minutes from it?
Sure, yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comments?
So the next public comment is from Jennifer Rudolph. She just says, her name, Jennifer Rudolph. Nathaniel Will says thank you, Judge Mayfield. Vicki Wagner says thank you. And then Rebecca Burnett, Sawyer, Michigan. That's her public comment as follows. She also says, Rebecca Burnett, Sawyer, Michigan, we implore the board to reach out to the community. And that is all the public comments we have thus far.
All right, thank you. With this advanced technology, I am going to allow just a couple of more minutes as it would relate to public comment if there are those who, and public comment if there are those who desire to still be made a part of the record. And that, thank you, Ashley, for reading those into the record because of, but they will be preserved and those will be reflected appropriately in the minutes from this meeting. And there being nothing else, Ashley, at this moment, nothing else is coming.
Any more public comments at this time?
Thank you. Is there any unfinished business for the board? I am not, the commission that I'm not aware of?
Just the signing of the minutes.
Yeah, we gotta sign this.
We're gonna do that, okay. That will take care of it. Any other announcements that need to be managed? Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make the motion to adjourn at 11:55.
Second?
Supported? I think that's a voice vote.
Yes, because we're virtual.
A voice vote, all in,
Good call, roll.
call,
Yeah.
so,
Clerk Tyler,
Yes.
Judge Mayfield,
yes.
Treasurer White,
Yes.
unanimous decision.
All right. Thank you all very much for your participation today, particularly thanking the commission again for the participation, and thank Ms. Kitzmiller for the access of the process. Process was very satisfied, managed appropriately, and that is because you asked for that, and that's a part of the process that people have the opportunity. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Mr. Goldman.
Thank you.
Mr. Whitlow. All right, thank you all very much.